You're listening to episode 103 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. So on today's podcast, we're joined by Abi Lyle, who has currently, just moisturised her hands because God knows if you are horsey and you are outside in the winter, you need to. She's got wine, and I know a lot of people will be listening to this in the morning, but, sometimes it's needed. Hello, Abi. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Now, I should say, before we even get started on this, we have been planning this since November at Equiboodle and Friends event. I asked you and you said yes. And then flipping Olivia. I love Olivia. If you're listening, you know I love
Olivia.
But she whizzed in there and stole you from me. She didn't.
Well, I must say, because her and I had been planning it from July.
No, I'm not having that. I'm just not having that at all.
You're not accepting that as an answer. So that's fine. That's fine. Not. But hey, we're here now.
Exactly.
I also have hummus.
Oh God, you're living your best life.
Yeah, I don't mess about in the evening time. It's all about snacking and relaxing.
Is it like a bog standard hummus or is it a flavoured one?
Oh, extra virgin olive oil, cooperative,
Classy.
But I mean, I don't turn my nose up at cooperative hummus any day. So yeah, I've got that with some pitta because I'm living the vegan life.
Well, I have to say though, top tip on the hummus thing, Aldi, love Aldi, do a red pepper one.
Oh, lovely. Oh, very nice.
So good.
I will involve myself. Anyway, carry on.
I feel this has taken a turn and we're like moments in.
We're discussing hummus.
But it's good for people that need a healthy snack. We've helped them. So I know Abi I was trying to think actually how many years ago. And luckily I have got no memory. But I first met Abi at Talland.
Yeah, I know exactly when it was.
Go on.
It was August 2011. I know because that was when I had a fringe.
You did have a fringe?
I had a fringe, a proper fresh bangs, and we just got Squidge. Squidge was a puppy.
Yes.
So it was like, yeah. It was like August, maybe autumn, maybe going into autumn. But the bangs were fresh, and I got the bangs cut in August. So maybe it was maybe September, but around that time, 2011. So 9 years.
I don't remember the year. You remember the month.
Yeah. I mean, the bangs, it was a big step.
It was a big step, but they suited you. The reason that I think Abi probably knows this is because I did some video work for a big website, and Abi, bless her, put herself for the interrogation on video.
People still send me screen grabs of those videos.
They were brilliant. They were beautifully filmed. I think the person
they were super informative and like you say, beautifully filmed.
Well, you're a blooming legend for putting up with that, and you're indeed a legend now. So I'm going to put the link to Olivia's podcast in the show notes. So,
I thought you were going to say you're going to put the link to the videos. You should.
I'm probably going to do that too.
That's fine.
No, the Olivia comment was connected to, because we're going to, obviously, if you haven't listened to Olivia's, do. But just so you think, she hasn't mentioned this and this, Olivia covered quite a lot. So I want to build on that.
Yeah. Okay.
But also, so give us a quick, from when I videoed you at Talland with your amazing fringe to where you are now.
Oh, a tumultuous time of equitation education.
Ooh, I like that. I think actually when I met you at Talland as well, you were riding the mare that you talked about. Yeah, a Mo.
Yeah.
Actually, I think she was in some of the videos, wasn't she?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we used her to model leading. And we may have used her to model how to put a rug on.
Sounds about right.
I think that was probably her.
So now you have got 4 horses that you ride?
Yes, the number varies, but at the minute I have a little string of 4, and all boys, ranging well, no, actually, three of them are 9 and one of them is 4. So 3 advanced and 1 young horse.
Oh, lovely.
But yeah, since you, I've done like lots of nationals. I've been up there at nationals, like in top 3 placings. I've gone internationally. I've been placed internationally. I've done Grand Prix. It's all happened. It's all the dreams came true one after another.
And actually not a hugely long space of time, really.
No. Especially because I had to play like catch up because I didn't like ride as a, I didn't, I wasn't like doing ponies and juniors and all that kind of stuff. I was there campaigning for a kind of mid-30s, class of the middle-aged group. That's what I would like. That would be good.
And so now you've got 4 exciting horses. Well, 1 youngster and 3 very exciting.
Yes.
And we see you riding them on Instagram stories a lot, which I love.
Yes.
I feel like I'm helping by watching. I know I'm not.
You're right in there with me.
I'm right in there. I mean, you certainly don't need my help writing. So how did you start with your social media, and why did you start? Because you've got quite a decent following now, and I know I love seeing your stories. I think the accent helps. You have got the most beautiful accent, and you are hilarious. I will regularly find myself actually laughing out loud.
Oh, thank you.
At your stories, because when you had the I don't think you've done it for a while, when you had 2 people next to each other.
The polls.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, I need to bring that back.
You have to, because it was so fun. They made me really consider myself as a person a lot of the time. So tell me how it all started.
It just evolved. I didn't even really like. I was running a Facebook page, like as you do, but then I kind of got an Instagram and was posting bits and bobs, and then like I don't even know when I kind of started the stories. I think I got to a point where I just like, if I thought something was funny or interesting, you put it up. And then I think it escalated.
It got out of hand.
This is really sad. But I think it escalated because sometimes when you're riding like, at many points I've been riding like 8 to 10 horses a day by myself. So you're just in there. And like you do a lot, I'm really good with my warm up cool down. So on each horse, I probably spend at least 15 minutes walking on a long rein. And, that's not exciting. So I just kind of got to a point where I would be like, maybe I'd finish a ride and I'd be like, maybe I'd had an interesting session and I wanted to share about it. Or I thought something was funny and I wanted to share it. So I just started talking on it and people seemed to like it. I'm sure a lot of people also didn't like it because it's like up and down all the time with social media. I'm sure you know yourself. But yeah, and I kind of like but that's what I want to do. That like I want to tell people like what is really going on when you're there kind of trying to. It's a hard sport, and I want to let people know that I don't find it any less hard now than I did when I was like first ever trying to learn to get a horse on the bit.
I suppose it's different pressures, isn't it?
Yeah, like it's different, but it's still hard, and I kind of want to share that with people so that when people are at the basic level learning, whatever it is, their first time to leg yield or just walk to a canter and try to do that in a straight line. I want you to know that even if you're it looks like you're up there having a wonderful time, it's just still hard, and it's the same kind of struggles, but it just is different, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. So do you particularly enjoy doing it now? I mean, I should say as well, we decided, actually I think it was Abby's idea, but it's a good idea, so I'm going to say we. Abby said earlier today, this is the day we're recording, I'll put something up on Instagram stories to get people to ask questions, and we had a lot of questions in. So we've gone through them and pulled out a bit of a selection. And one of the questions, which I think is actually a good one to come on to now, is do you enjoy social media personally, or do you just do it for your business? And I'll add on to that on your personal brand as well.
No, I definitely enjoy it. But for me, it's the last year I've struggled a little bit to try to find, I don't want to say the word boundary because that's almost like too strong a word, but definitely a balance, because I got to a point where I was getting a lot of feedback from people, and people asking me a lot of questions, especially riding related questions. And I've had to set like limits to myself where my priority is always that I'm a rider and I'm a trainer. So I've had to draw a line there sometimes. And I also don't want to get to the point where I feel like I post things for the sake of it. So sometimes there might, you might not hear from me for a day or two. It's maybe just because I'm cracking on and I haven't thought of anything or nothing interesting has happened. I don't want to be there just saying things for the sake of it to try and like make people like, interested if I don't find it interesting.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Certainly a great tool for me, 100%, as like from a business point of view, because it helps me get lessons, like people to train. But I always try to remember the reason I do it is because I just want to share the journey, and I want to try to share it in such a way that it's going to help other people or like make people laugh. Because sometimes like the best thing you can do when you're cold and wet and you fall over because you tripped over your spur while you're trying to wheel a wheelbarrow is it's hilarious. So I try to do it a little bit like that. Yeah, does that answer the question?
No, I think that's a really good point, because actually another question that came in was, how do you manage the equestrianness? Obviously, I assume that's like riding and training, with social media, with running your business, with running your life. And I think the boundary thing is a really, really solid point on that, because it is difficult, because it's a lot of grey areas, isn't it?
Yeah. And like I've had kind of a lot of people ask why I'm not vlogging, and that's why, because I don't want to feel pressure. If I'm at a big show and I just want to like, maybe often I'm at a big show and I'm there by myself and I'm looking after the horses, I don't want to feel like I now have to go into the lorry and do a video when that's maybe an added pressure that's taken away from the fact that the number one thing I'm there to do is ride and compete. I love doing this. Like I love doing the stories, and I love hearing from people, and I love it when when I can answer a question and help somebody, but very often I can't. So I just like, I do have to set limits in that way. But and equally, like I do try to share personal stuff as well, like a wee dinner out and all that kind of stuff, because I don't want it to feel like it is too, like it's just I hate to say my journey, but it is my journey.
It's the right word.
So like, yeah, so I don't want it to be too business, but I also like I want it to be fun as well.
But then as from a personal brand point of view, I think that's absolutely right, because people don't just go to Google and Google, well, not many people, dressage trainer or dressage instructor or dressage rider, if they're looking for someone to ride their horse to a level or to train them. You go to specific people because you feel that you can connect with them and you can align with them and their struggles and your struggles. So the fact that you are sharing your personal, story as well and your journey, you're allowing more people the chance to connect with you.
Yeah. I've even had, really interestingly, some other riders, like I actually had riders from Australia message me and ask me, did my owners not mind that I spoke about their horses being naughty? And I was like, no, my goodness, absolutely not. Because I think some riders feel like they can't say that they're under so much maybe pressure from owners or sponsors to make it look like everything's perfect all the time. And like, that's not what I'm here for, because it's not perfect. And that's what people like, that's what I try to share.
But I think as well, you're very respectful. When you say they've been naughty, it's a statement. Show me a horse that isn't. Even my little old has her moments, and she's not got a bad bone in her body, but it's not like you're saying, they're the spawn of Satan and they're trying to kill you.
Exactly.
It's a different thing. If you've got a very fit dressage horse, you're likely to have days when it gets just a little bit wicked for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really good point. And I think that sharing that, you can deal with horses that are a bit naughty. Again, if you're looking for a trainer or a rider and you think, oh, they're only used to dealing with perfect horses, I couldn't possibly approach them.
Yes, exactly.
You're putting more barriers in your way, in my opinion.
Exactly.
And have you found, since you've been more active on your social, that you've attracted more sponsors? Because you've got quite a lovely collection of sponsors, haven't you?
Yes. I'm very spoilt, very, very spoilt. So yeah. And like, it's because that's one thing that people ask me. They say like, how do I approach sponsors? And actually I find that it kind of works in like, it's almost like a domino effect, because when I didn't have any, I was maybe approaching some and nothing was happening. Then you get one, but actually in a lot of cases I've had gaining one sponsor, then they say, oh, actually we work really closely with this other company. Let's see if they, and it goes on from there. And I think sometimes it's just best to let things just be a little bit organic.
Definitely.
But yeah, definitely. And like, I have had sponsors approach me because of the like this element of my attitude, because they say they would rather someone out there being honest and being like just a bit more upfront about what the actual process is like, rather than like trying to present a perfect image of equestrianism, which is, you know.
And I have to say, I do work with Equiboodle, as I think everyone knows. But Abi is sponsored by Equiboodle and is literally sat here on the podcast wearing a crackerjack with glitter horse. So
yes!
But again, I think that's a really good point, because you shouldn't be sponsored and work with people that you don't actually believe in their products. And I say this so often.
Yeah,
because
100%.
You put them in your stories and you talk about them. And if you don't believe that, even if someone's going, oh, we'll give you this, this, and this, you want that relationship, don't you?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, again, like, I'm a rider, I'm a trainer, I'm not an actress. I'm not like, you know, I'm not here to, yes, I really like this. Oh, and actually it's awful. I don't like it at all. You know, I wouldn't be able to set like, you know, I couldn't do that. So I have to be able to really like something so that I can go on my story or go on whatever and say like, oh, I actually love this, because and I think it's too obvious when people are being false or being fake about it. So yeah, you've got to love the products. And like, I'm very, very lucky that not only I feel like do I have sponsors that their stuff is fabulous, but also they're lovely to work with as well. And that's also so important.
I was going to say, if we were looking at, we're just messing up the order of the questions, but I like this.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening and they're trying to attract sponsors, what tips would you give about how to find the right people to work with? Because I know that it's so flipping important from a brand's point of view to find people that really are your cheerleading flag wavers. And also from a rider point of view, you want the same back, don't you? So what tips would you give people?
I would say you definitely want to approach someone who perhaps you already use their stuff.
Yeah.
Because sponsors don't want to hear, like, I actually find more often than not, they're not interested in how many rosettes you have or what you've done. They want to know what you think of their products. So I think the best thing that you could do is say, I've been using your, you know, bridle for 4 years and it's made such a difference to my horse and and I'd really like to work with you. And then you say a bit about yourself and then you say what you can bring to them. They don't need to hear that you want a rug or like that. I don't think that interests them so much.
No.
They need someone that's going to genuinely promote the products. Even better if you've got a bit of a client base that, you know, you can say, well, I go to clinics and I teach so many people, or I'm at a yard where there's a lot of people and I would be really happy to promote things, etc., etc. But I think for sure you want to go somewhere, approach somebody and say, first and foremost, I love your products and this is why.
That's like, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh.
You've done, honestly, a gold star for you. Have some wine.
Thanks, cheers.
Cheers to that. So, I know from the brands that I work with, the approaches they get so often are, often it goes, this is me, I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
And this is what I want from you. And you're like, hang on a minute, do you use a product? What are you going to actually give to the company in terms of time or promotional things? Because giving products away is actually really, really easy as a brand, because everyone wants stuff for free.
Yeah.
But you've got to look for that return on investment. And having someone who goes, actually, I use your boots, they're amazing, I've used them for this many years, I have got this model and this style, and you think, oh my God, they get it, which means then you don't have to educate them about the product. And it also means that they're more likely to talk about it because they already know and like it.
Yes, exactly.
So, well, I mean, honestly, textbook answer there. Big tick for
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Right. I'm going to crack on with
my dad was in advertising, so it is in my blood.
Well, blooming good. I think as well, because of the way that social media now, if we think back probably 10 years, you got sponsorship if you were a top rider with a load of rosettes with a string of horses.
Yes.
Not the case now.
No.
Those riders do still get the sponsorship, but also if you are an influencer, we're going to talk about that shortly, and you've got a following and you're posting regularly, you don't have to be aiming at the Olympics to get sponsorship.
Yeah, exactly.
But you need to add that value all the time at every stage. And I know that obviously from working with Equiboodle, I know Abi is a very, very good example and looks annoyingly good in the new riding tights, just putting that out there too.
I can't wait to get in them tomorrow, actually, because I'm going to do a little, sometimes I do my workout in the day, in the middle of riding.
Oh, wow. So you're going for a riding tight to...
Yeah, so I can just... Yeah, I just find sometimes it's hard to get out of bed at like 5. But equally, I don't have the energy in the evenings for sure.
No, you've got the wine and the hummus, so you can't
the wine and the hummus. It's wine and hummus time. It's not workout time. Yes. Anyway, we digress.
That's all good. So our next question, I'm not going to say who these were from because A, I haven't written down who they were from because of B, I think I said A, but people sent these questions through the question thing rather than in a public way. So I'm not going to say who they're from. But if you're listening and you sent in a question, thank you.
Thanks.
So next question, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Interessant. Stop crying. Squidge is crying. He's just staring at me, crying and wagging his tail because he wants me to throw his pig. No.
Is that because of the question?
No, he's got a little toy pig and he wants me to throw it and I'm not going to throw it. No. Sorry.
You tell him.
Oh my gosh, 10 years. So I will be...
Don't say it.
Okay, because I've actually decided that this year is my last birthday.
Okay, good call.
So it's going to be a really big one. So I'm just going to like really embrace that because it's going to be the last one. So I will be older. 10 years, but what will it be? It will be 2030. So I would really like to have done an Olympics or the like. I would like to have either Olympics, or I think sometimes with horses I never want to feel like I overly aim for something like that because it's more important to me that I have happy, sustainable horses. So if I didn't get to that, there's always a WEG or Europeans, but I would have liked to have done something of that nature, ridden on a team basically. And I would like, this is probably not really that exciting an answer, but I would like to be riding a straight, like, I don't need a million horses. I'd like a little bit like now, some really nice ones. I'd like to be able to ride that whole seat, hand, leg thing, really like out to the bit. I want to really have improved. I want to be really good at riding. Sorry. I'd like a home with preferably Andrew, who I love, with stairs and a dishwasher and quite a large living room. And I'd like a 4x4 because that's practical. And I would just like to be able to buy nice candles and like have a good base of people that I train that I know I'm improving them and enriching their lives by teaching them how to equitate well. And that's pretty much it. I hate to be like not that exciting.
No, I love that. I think it's really good actually to have...
Although I am just sitting here saying I'd like to have done an Olympics. So that is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But other than that, like, I'm not here being like, I want a big massive yard of my own or I want a big house. I'm not interested in being really wealthy. I'd like to have do you know what I'd love? I would love to have time to do a little bit more personal things, like go on weekends away and stuff like that. I'd really like that. And I'd like to go have the time to go home and see my family more. But yeah, I'd probably like to have a better work-life balance, and I'd like to have become a more a less anxious person. And that's it.
You don't seem anxious.
Oh, that's good.
No, but this is a good point, because another question we have got is about sports psychology and mental processes, how to cope when you have bad days, how to cope with competition nerves. And you said about being less anxious. So I get from that, I should say, when I said you didn't seem anxious, obviously we're having a chat now. So it's not like we're and I do understand anxiety on a few different levels. So I get that people who have got anxiety aren't sort of there, shaking back and forward all the time, completely. So can you tell us a bit about that, when that comes in?
Yeah, I wouldn't I don't think I wouldn't say per se that I suffer from anxiety. I think I suffer from 21st century life. And I think it's just so life is so fast paced now, thinking 10 years back, you never as an employer or an employee would have sent your boss or your staff member a text at 11 o'clock at night saying, can you make sure you've done this? It wouldn't have happened. Or even you think back to landlines, you wouldn't pick up the phone to somebody at 11 p.m. at night and say, I just want to make sure you sent that email to so-and-so. It wouldn't have happened. Whereas now we want answers to everything straight away, and we want things to happen immediately. And I think everything's just so fast. It's really, really hard to keep up. And I think it still applies, as much as the equestrian life is a little bit its own bubble, maybe a bit behind the times. But it definitely still applies. And I just find it really hard to, I'm happiest when I'm in the day and I'm going and I'm flat out. I don't stop for lunch. I don't ever once I get going, I just keep going. And I find it hard to switch off in the evening time, hence the hummus and wine. So I think that's where I feel it the most, when I'm just when I stop, and I find it really hard to just switch off when I'm not actively doing things. But I think that's fairly common. But I also I definitely overthink and overworry scenarios and situations, and I massively put too much pressure on myself, and I second guess myself a lot. And I would like to do that less.
And do you do that with your riding as well, with your competing, or just with your life, or both?
Oh, yes, terribly at everything. Yes. As a rider, this is one thing I always try to have in mind when I teach, and it's not easy, but I do try to have it in mind. I think 98% of riders lack confidence, myself included. And I do think that when I really try when I'm on a horse to keep bringing my brain back to earth, because it's so easy to get in a cycle of something's going on, something's going wrong. What am I doing wrong? I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not good enough, or somebody else would do it better than me. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, 100% on a horse, off a horse.
Do you find competitions bad as well?
Yeah. Nowhere near. And I did again spoke about this with Olivia, but nowhere near as bad as I did. And I've worked hard on it, and I've got to say I do. I have improved that a lot, drastically, really drastically. But I would get but a lot of it was accepting that sometimes when you get the physical responses of nerves, like sweaty palms, butterflies, etc., etc., it not only kind of working through what is actually going on in your head, but also accepting that those physical responses, they're just physical responses. It doesn't mean because your palms are sweaty that you're going to ride badly. It doesn't mean because you've got butterflies you're going to ride badly. It just means that your body is like preparing you to actually your body's preparing you for danger, but by doing that your body's making you more reactive and faster and like a little bit more switched on. So I always try to tell myself like, oh yeah, like I've got butterflies, it just means I'm going to be more reactive. And I try to just flip everything into a positive. So all the negative things that come in my mind when I'm competing or I get competition nerves, I've learned over the years to try and flip it all into a positive. Not always easy.
No, and definitely something that is a real skill to learn.
Oh yeah, and all it takes is practice. There is no, and I'd love to turn to you now and say, because like I would have been feeling physically sick, like, and I would put it off, and oh, I was terrible, and shaking, violently shaking. Anyway, I'd love to say this is the magic thing that worked for me, but there's no magic thing. It was a million little things, and it was over like doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
And you did have help as well, didn't you, from a sports psychologist?
Yes, yeah, Camilla Henderson. And she was really good because she's horsey. So, you know, she had a lot of knowledge. She doesn't do dressage, but she had a lot of knowledge about the other variables that we deal with as well. Because it's not just performance anxiety. Then you can also be like nervous about like, are you going to get bucked off?
Yeah.
Or, you know, but then also things like, oh, my horse has just come back from injury. Like, am I doing the right thing competing? So yeah, she was really good like that because I could relate to her with many different situations. But we worked a lot over the years of having like little strategies for me. Like I have a little plan when I go around the edge, like little things that I do to just bring me to earth.
That's really cool because I know we've had a question about competition nerves and how you cope with them. But also I guess that does filter into how you cope riding on bad days when you have challenging times with young horses. It is a mental thing as much as obviously the horse hasn't gone particularly well for whatever reason. But then have you applied those kind of skills to reframe what's happened with that as well?
Yes. But I can share some genuine tips with that. I can actually give some tips of like my little things for going around the edge when I compete as well, but they're quite personal to me. But
if you'd
certainly,
like to, I'd love to hear.
Okay, this is so rare. It's not rare. It's my thing and it's mine and I own it. But and this again is like why it's so important to just experiment with lots of things because you start to discover what really suits you. And I love my yoga. I'm a little yogi here and I would sit and try to meditate. Don't ask me how often I do it because it's not enough. But I remember one day I was like trying to like kind of get into a bit of a meditation and I couldn't switch my brain off at all. And I just was like, okay, Abby, just shut up. And like, what can you smell? Like, what can you just concentrate on one thing at a time? What can you smell? So I was like, okay, I can smell, like, I could think I could smell a tea bag or something. And then I was like, now what can you hear? And I was like, oh, I didn't know my washing machine made that noise. And then, because my mind was so loud. And then I was like, I just went through my kind of senses one by one. And it just really helped me shut my mind off. So when I went to, in my next session with Camilla, I just told her about this because then it just led me to just quiet all those voices in my head that were stopping me from like kind of having a little meditate session. So I mentioned it to Camilla and she was like, this is brilliant. So then we devised this little thing of like, when I go around the edge, I just go one by one. I'm like, what can I hear? What can I see? What can I smell? And then if I give myself a little touch on the thigh, and it kind of just brings me back to earth because my personal thing when I'm nervous is I go way too inside. Like I will have done, like I remember back in the fringe days of 2011, I remember doing a regionals and I came out of the test and Charlie was like, okay, what did that feel like? And I didn't remember any of it. Remember everything. Yeah, didn't remember any of it. I was straight out of the arena and I was like, it was a blur because I just went in there and went, ah! Like, and all that was like, my mind was just like, oh no, this wasn't good. This one, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't remember. So I go way too in my own mind. I think a lot of other people maybe have the opposite problem where they're really distracted and they'll be like, oh, I heard that noise, or so that this probably isn't going to work for them. But so for me, I need something to pull me back to reality, to get me out. So I just think like, because I always know that the good tests I've done, I'll have been able to tell you what music's playing in the background.
Oh,
Sometimes
wow.
then, yeah, that's when I know I'm like aware enough, because you've got to be aware. You've got a horse to control.
Mm.
So, but if I go too inside myself and I'm like really critical, and then I'm slouching and I'm maybe too using the hand. But the ones I've really sat up, I'll be able to tell you what music was playing. So that's my little thing. I go round the edge. What can I see? What can I smell? And then my motto of life and of riding is USAT. OSAAT, which is one step at a time. So when I'm really nervous about a test, rather than thinking like, I've got to wrangle around this pre St. George, I think I've just got to ride a centre line, and then I've just got to ride a medium trot, and then I've just got to ride a shoulder in, and then they all become one thing.
I
So one
love
step,
it.
yeah, everything in life is better if you break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down. So that's my, so that answers the first thing.
It does. No, I love that though. I want to say it's almost like grounding, but I think that's the right word. But I've heard the kind of
Mm-hmm.
when you're having a complete, like your mind is just being horrible.
Yeah.
If you can just focus on one thing,
Yes,
just bring you
exactly.
back. And I love
Yeah.
what can I smell? What can I see?
Yeah.
What can I hear? Because we can all do those things anytime.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. That's my, there you go. For free, everybody. Enjoy.
Drop the mic.
Drop them.
I love that. I know I'm now down with the kids.
Really, really helped me. But I'm keen to answer the next question, which was the bad days riding.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I have one, this is the most valuable thing I could tell people is your horse doesn't care if do you know this whole rule of like never ended on a bad note, like always end on a good note? I throw that away.
Okay.
Your horse, yeah, absolutely not. Abandon it. The best thing you could do for your riding is when you feel if you're at that point where you're really stuck, just stop. They don't care. Your horse will, 95% of horses want to please the rider. I really believe that. I truly believe that. In the 10 years I've been doing this, I think that unless they are confused or they physically can't do what you're asking in the moment that you've presented something, or they're scared, I think they will try to do it right. I really do. And I don't believe that if you get yourself in a fluster and you can't do something, if you go, sod it, I'll leave it till tomorrow, your horse is not going to go back to the stable and go, ha ha, I beat her. I'm not going to do that tomorrow, or I can't wait to show her. I think with genuine, like if you're dealing with behavior issues, maybe it's a little bit different. But like I myself, I will tell you, I had a ride a couple of weeks, maybe it was 3 weeks ago. I got off, I walked, led him for 10 minutes as my cool down. And I just thought, that's it, not getting anywhere. Why am I bothering? Like, not why am I bothering, but I thought, I've got myself in a situation. I've tried a couple of things. I'm not getting out of it. And I tell you, how good was my ride the next day? It was fantastic. Yeah. Because they're not there to make your life hard. And I think if you get in a situation where you're having a bad riding day, or even a bad, like, because I think riding, you go like, you peak and you plateau, and then you peak and you plateau, and then maybe it feels like it goes downhill. I just think like you've got to stay in a positive mindset. Horses don't learn from negativity, they only learn from positivity. And if you're not getting there, just chill, just like go walk down the drive, get off and lunge, do whatever you have to do, but don't keep yourself in a situation where you're getting flustered and the horse is getting flustered. Just leave it. That is the best advice I could ever give.
I love that. Because again, I suppose the more you get stressed about the horse not doing something, the more he gets stressed because you're getting stressed. And then the more you get stressed, and then you've got a small problem that's become a massive issue now.
Yeah. I've never, ever in my life been having a bad ride and continued and thought, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
I've always been happy when I've said, no, there's always another day. And I think like if you just give them the chance and say like no, and you've got to pull, unless you can in that moment really pull away and say, right, there's something not right here. How am I presenting this wrong? Or like, am I giving a mixed message, or am I asking something that at this moment isn't possible? Maybe you think like, oh, well, actually, I've just realized that he, when I came to muck him out today, his bed was all messed up. Maybe he had a really rough night because there was a storm or something like that. If you can't pull yourself out of the moment and assess what's going on and then like have a positive plan at the time, then just leave it. They won't mind. Unless you're dealing with something that's being really naughty, that's a little bit different. If they're wild and they're like trying to bronk you off, then no, maybe you do need to lunge. Definitely, like my other motto is when in doubt, lunge. If you have any doubt, lunge the horse. Don't be like, it'll be fine. Just lunge.
Would you apply that to young horses as well? Because I know they're a little bit different. If you've got a young horse versus an advanced horse that knows what it's doing, I imagine the thread's quite similar. More so
with young horses. My young horses do a lot less than an awful lot less than my more advanced horses. And I think more than ever, you need to be really careful with young horses that you're being clear with your message, and going round and round and round trying to get something is not going to help, because you've got to protect them physically as well as mentally. So I do a lot with my young horses of like, you think when you're first learning to drive, it's very quickly in that you learn how to do an emergency stop, because that's important. So I actually spend time with young ones to check that I've got a really good, like, whoa, can I stop dead if I need to? Sometimes I teach them that in hand, just off my voice. So I do a lot of really basic things, like the basic aids of stop, start, steer. Quick off my leg, quick to stop, turning them with the outside rein. And then once they have that really, really good, then you can go on. But the other day I rode a 4-year-old for 17 minutes because that was all he needed. Yeah. He did everything I asked. Why would I do more? Nice. So I was like, good boy, thanks, grand. I think it's important still, like, for that reason, that they have turnout and all that kind of stuff, because they still need to play and they need to get, like, they'll have a lot of energy, but I don't like to make them expend their energy in work. They need to have positive energy to work, but I don't like to think that I'm kind of tiring them out with dressage, because they need to find it understandable and not like kind of too much pressure, basically. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that makes perfect sense. So now we're going to jump back to the term influencer. I'm literally crossing off the questions. I mean, so we had a lot, so I have but someone said something along the lines of the term influencer gets used a lot. How do you feel about that label for you?
I kind of feel a bit like there's people with a lot more influence than I do, so I don't really I don't identify to it very much, because especially I think you see a lot of people presenting themselves in such a way that I'm not.
The cringing on Abby's face, if you could see it, it looks like I physically pained her. She's going to go, oh God, no. That's her.
But when you do see, like, there's a lot of nudity and when I think of an influencer, I think of like a lot of these girls that are out there, like bums out, which seems to be such a thing at the minute. Like, I just never find the need to show my bum publicly.
What accounts do you follow? I'm not seeing this. What accounts do you follow?
I suppose I blame myself, because I don't know, actually. A few Love Island people, I suppose. I'm trying to think whose bum I've seen. I follow a few dancers.
Do they get their backsides out?
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, it seems like everyone does. But maybe I'm just in the wrong circles of Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't see many, but
I can't escape the bums. They're everywhere.
So you think influencer, get your body out? Is that where we're going with this?
I actually do, yeah, a little bit. And I do think that. But I also think that it's people that are trying to portray a level of perfection of life that is not realistic. So that's I don't identify with it for that reason, but equally I feel like I'm not there with like loads and loads and loads of followers. I feel like I have a humble, albeit very healthy. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be careful about what I say here.
I think we've already crossed a bridge with people getting their backsides out.
Yeah,
so
we have.
I think we're good.
I'm really red now talking about the bum.
But also, I think horsey people, you don't really see them with their backsides out because often their legs are the colour of milk.
But I mean, okay, definitely we're following different. There in the horsey one, there's still a definite. There's bums. There's bums. I feel like there's bums in the horsey.
I'm going to look at who you follow after this.
Maybe in the horsey world they're not exposed in the skin, but they're definitely.
There's a focus on the backside.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you now. I was literally thinking of people who were basically naked.
Yeah. No, not always naked. Maybe I'm just upset because I don't really have a bum. Like it's there, but it's nothing I couldn't brandish it like it's a feature. It's just, yeah, it just happens to be there. It's just, you know.
I don't think you need to be brandishing your bum though. Just putting out there. I was doing a lecture a few weeks ago and someone started a question with, I know that sex sells, but, and I swear nothing makes your blood run colder when someone is going to ask you a question about whether they should get their kit off or not. And anyway, I was like, no, don't do that. Because the whole point is, if you want to get your kit off, fair enough. But if it makes you feel horribly uncomfortable and it's not you, for Christ's sake, don't, because you're not going to attract the right people to you.
No, and I think as well, I don't want to be like, I think the body positivity movement is wonderful. So I'm in no way taking away from that. But it's also it's a fine line where I do think to a point it makes people feel a little bit like, should I be doing this, or why don't I look like that? You know, that's a whole other conversation for us to have. Probably another podcast in itself.
Well, he'll get you on. We've got enough questions for a sequel. God knows. So you're not entirely sure about the term influence, and I think as well, another thing you said before we started recording was that for you, you'll always be a rider and trainer. So anything influency, anything social media is always going to be secondary for you.
Yes, and that probably sounds brutal, especially because I have got like, I love the interaction I have with people on my social media. It's so much fun. And I feel like I seem to have attracted a really cool bunch of people because we all have a laugh and it feels like a little community in itself. So I never want to take away from that. But yeah, I'm a rider and a trainer, and that's where my priority will always lie.
I don't think it does take away from it at all, actually, because I think it means that you'll be just sharing your journey. That's your whole priority, is sharing your horses and your journey as you go without anything else to it, really, in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
And, you know, not getting your backside out.
No bums out for me. You know, if you want to get your backside out, that's your biz.
I don't. I think my following would take a real hit if I did that. No one needs to see that.
Oh, lordy.
And I probably attract some people that I really didn't want to follow me.
Yes.
So let's not do that. The next question is one that I've actually added.
Oh.
I know. And it is connected to social media, and it's connected to your hashtag, drag-free dressage.
Yes.
Because I think that we can all agree that there is a lot of negativity on social, and people I didn't know until the other day that there were groups on Facebook set up to literally rip riders apart via photographs.
Yes.
I was actually jaw open when someone was telling me about it. And I was appalled, quite frankly, because the people that they were telling me had been pictures of them being put into this group are not people who do anything bad genuinely. They are good riders. They are good people with nice horses, and it's not right. So how did all of this come about for you? How did your drag-free dressage movement, let's call it, come about?
Again, that was a story. I was just not rambling, but I get so upset about all this stuff. I really do. I hate it. And the thing is, it's not even just happening on social media. It happens at livery yards. It happens everywhere. It even sometimes happens with trainers and other riders, and it's really bad. So I had been kind of ranting, and I was like, no dragging. And then it became drag-free dressage. I'd like to just say at this, like, this is me officially saying, drag queens, welcome. Please, we love a drag queen. I mean dragging as in dragging people down. That is not what we're here for. Drag queens, we love.
Yeah, too right. And anyone's welcome as long as they're not dragging people down. I think that's fair.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's so rife. And I think a lot of the problems are, it's so easy to see, especially when people start to get into the whole behind the vertical thing. Because for me, if that's the first thing that you're going to moan about, well, you're going to the single most obvious thing to spot. You're not really going in there with a great wealth of knowledge to say, oh, well, hind legs over the back, blah, 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 blah. You're just going into something that's really obvious and something that it's easy to blame the rider. But actually, equally, if you've ever ridden a horse that naturally goes there, you will know that it's one of the single most hardest things to correct if that's their natural way that they react to the contact or to the bit. I can imagine their responses to me just saying that at the minute.
Well, we don't need any of that here. They can, if you have an issue, jog on, turn off.
Yeah, we're not here for that.
And we're not talking about cruelty. We're talking about, we're not saying it's correct to have your horse tied in with its chin on its chest. We're not talking about that at all.
No, and the thing is nobody, I don't know this is what's crazy. I don't know anyone that gets on and is like, haha, I'm going to do this to my horse because it's going to make me feel good because I'm a bad person. Riding's really, really, really hard. And this is what really kind of gets me when someone's, look at her legs are moving too much. Oh, right. Well, controlling your limbs while doing when you're at the gym is hard enough. Controlling your limbs while you're on an independently moving object, while you're trying to make that that's a horse. Please, yeah. I'm just using an analogy. Trying to get them to do things is really, really, really difficult. So it's we're not perfect and everyone's trying to get better. And this is why, I think then, it doesn't mean you shouldn't post something just because it's a bit I see pictures of myself and I could pick 10 things and I just have to be sod it. This is my picture from my show and I'm going to put it up. Because that's your journey. And I don't feel like people should be afraid they're going to be picked apart. That makes me so sad because it's a really, really hard sport. Physically, mentally, everything about it is hard. And I just think we should be nicer to each other.
I think that's brilliant. And there you have got again, I feel like Equiboodle is getting a real shout out at the moment. But you designed a hoodie, didn't you, with Equiboodle with that?
Yes.
Sleeve, which is really cool.
Green, Irish green with the orange logo, and then drag free dressage on the arm because that's what we're here for. We're here for drag free.
Did you for that when you started talking about it on social? Did you get a lot of people messaging you going, oh my god, I've had it, oh my god, I feel
this is the worst thing. Like I say, it's not just people getting crappy comments on their post. It's people will say oh, I was riding and someone came up and said oh, your horse has really gone downhill, or even just things people at their livery yard or their livery yard owners, or even their own trainers. And I just think it's so easy. I think the sport is rife with jealousy. And I think as well, there's that element of you could watch someone and think oh, well, they've got a nice horse. The horse is doing it all for them. I think people easily get into that frame of mind. So then they're more negative about the rider. And what's really funny is actually I find the more kind of, I'm using inverted commas, professional I got, the more I actually find when you're dealing with other professional riders, they're the kindest of all, because they know what it's like. They know how hard it is. And they're like, a lot of us are really nice to each other.
That's
It's
really
kind of
lovely
when
to
you,
know.
yeah, really lovely. And like I remember I had a terrible time at Hartbury International one year. I had to retire 2 days in a row because my horse was just like, he like I couldn't get him into canter, and then I was trying to do the canter zigzag and trot, and like he was just really naughty, and he was spinning round and he was leaping in the air. And as I left, one of the judges put her head out the window and she went, "You need to give him a good kick." Which I thought was really funny because I was at an international. But the community that I had of people being like, we knew what you were going through in that moment, and like, oh, you did so well, you kept your cool, and blah blah blah. And that was lovely. I think sometimes then when you get kind of outside the community a little bit, it's a lot of these people that don't actually ride that are the biggest critics of all, or maybe they ride very seldom. I think they're the worst. I do think it's the people that don't ride very much that are the worst, to be honest, because they're not there doing it, and they forget how hard it is.
No, that's a fair point. And even worse, really, ripping someone apart when you're not. There's a great saying, I want to say it's by Brené Brown, and I'm going to just misquote it, but it's along the lines, if you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked alongside me, I'm not interested in your opinion.
Yes.
I've completely butchered that quote, but it's a brilliant one.
I know the one you think. Isn't it Theodore Roosevelt or someone like that? I don't know. We can look it up after.
Yeah, we'll look that up. But a wise person said something wise along that line.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That, like, if you're not, and I don't even think if someone said something constructive to me and they've never sat on a horse in their life, I would take it. I would be like, cool. Because I actually know some people. I actually know one particular lady really well who, like, she's ridden. She doesn't ride so much anymore. But I don't believe she's ever ridden to a high level dressage, but oh my goodness, does she have a good eye for a horse, and a really good eye for like talented young horses. So sometimes, like, people have a gift, and I think that she has a gift, and I would absolutely say, you sit in the corner and anything you want to say about what you see about my horse, you will say it. She's also happens to be a nice person, which helps. So I think I wouldn't ever take that away from someone if someone wasn't an experience. If I'm not saying someone has to have ridden to a level or higher to give criticism, but that's the thing. Often people that have will know how to be constructive about that criticism and how to deliver that criticism. And I think that's the difference.
I guess as well, it might be that if someone isn't particularly, as you said about the lady that you've just talked about, she may have experienced a high level of something and had the criticism and therefore knows how to process it or how to be more constructive. I guess it's not just if you're horsey or not, but it's being in a situation that is high pressure, that you're really trying, and various other things as well, perhaps.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I think more like, and I do say this to a lot of people, just when you mention about high pressure, so many people do ask me about this, how to help with nerves and things. And I just say to all of them, just get help, get a sports psychologist. There's loads of them now. It'd be the best thing you ever did. Get help about it. I talk to mine about anything. I talk to her about like normal life problems as well. And it's really useful because it's a really hard sport to master that kind of, it's not only pressure, but it's like, even the management of things of, like it's really devastating when your horse is injured. Talk to somebody about it. It could really help.
So, no, definitely. So we've got 2 more questions. One, what skills have you taken from your time in retail to your equine career?
My retail days.
I remember United Colours of Benetton. When I heard it on the podcast, I went, there used to be one, there's a big shopping centre not that far from us, and there used to be one, and I used to love it. I don't think they're going anymore, are they?
That's what I was just thinking. I don't know that they are. They were and it was such a knitwear, great knitwear. Good times. I'm probably not really accessing those skills a lot in these days, but it's just probably how you deal with people. And not only dealing with people, whether it be clients, sponsors, just kind of courteous, manners, polite, customers always right. But then also to an extent, if you've had the worst ride of your life and you get to X, you must smile. Always smile and pat. You know, you always want to look like you've had a nice time, even if you haven't. So I suppose a little bit like that, you know, even when, you know, if you've had days, if you know, where you're rushed off your feet in the shop or whatever, you know, you've always got to be really willing to help people and put a smile on and do your best. So I suppose that's probably it.
Which is a really good life skill, let's be honest.
Mm.
So your last question, can you map out your life journey via Britney Spears songs?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. My life journey. So, I mean, we're talking about kind of, oh, wow. I could talk about Britney all day. I worry about her. I hope she's okay.
Yeah, she just seems to be having a bit of a challenging time.
Yeah, I mean, we can't even get into it because we'll be here all night. But yeah, I mean, definitely Baby One More Time days. I remember where I was. I remember dancing to a party when I was 15 to Crazy. My friend and I had the high kick that she did after the bridge down. Oops was number one in Oops went to number one in 2001. So yeah, for sure remember those times. I mean, after that, I mean, I was so obsessed. But then I remember being at a party and like Break the Ice was my Britney song of the time, and I started seeing this guy, and yeah, it's all there, definitely.
That would be your mastermind subject, wouldn't it? Britney Spears.
Yes,
without a doubt.
Yeah, I think it would be.
I'm never going to remember dates. I've literally got no idea what happens in what year, and you're like, oh well, this was number one in this year.
Haircuts and Britney songs are how I will know. You know, I had bangs. It was 2011. You know,
I'm impressed.
Yeah, Me Against the Music. It was 2003.
Well, you have been amazing.
Thank you.
I have.
So have you.
Well, I don't do much on these chats. I just
you're very easy to you're very easy to talk to, and you've asked good questions. So yes, you have also been wonderful.
Well, that's good. I'm pleased you enjoyed it. So tell me all the places, or tell us indeed all the places where we can find you online.
Just Abi Lyle. Just come right. I hate to speak of such things. You never know by the time this airs, but I'm dangerously close to 10K. So I never
get that.
But I mean, I just like to dangle a carrot to the folks out there, and imagine what I will post when I have swipe ups. Imagine the links.
It's going to be insane.
There'll be so many cat videos. Definitely Britney videos, Hosier. Obviously, this is kind of a random mix. My two favorite artists are Britney and Hosier.
Quite diverse there, like that.
Yeah, lots of Dorothy Schneider. So yeah, so come to Instagram. It's just at Abi Lyle, ABILYLE, all small. Get involved. We get to 10K. The swipe ups it'll change your life. And I must bring the polls back. When we just compare handsome men, because why not? My audience is a mere 11% men, which I always say only 7 of those, however many is 11%, but probably only about 7 actual followers are straight men. So we're good to compare handsome men, I think.
Yeah, and it can just be appreciation. If you put up 2 women, you could still vote, even if you.
Yeah, I've done that as well. Women Crush Wednesday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I was
bring
thinking.
Those back.
I couldn't think of the blooming terminology for it at all, which was
really Crush Wednesday. Yeah. So if people want to get in touch and give me some suggestions, because I always like a theme. I don't just pick random people. So give me a theme. I like to do it within a theme, and we'll do some polls and just have some fun. So yeah, it's just at Abi Lyle. That's it.
Excellent. Well, before I finish filming, I'm going to do a little boomerang of this. Here we go. And then I'm going to leave you to carry on with your. There we go. Right, ready, steady, go. Well, that's being saved. Right.
I hope
Amazing.
it worked. My glass
Yeah.
is empty, which looks even worse. It's like, oh, there's actually nothing in it.
It's all good.
It's fine.
Thank you very, very much for joining me. You're an absolute diamond. And I'll leave you to carry on with your hummus. You need to refill that wine. You need to throw the pig in the fridge.
Yes. He's relaxing now, actually. I might just leave it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.